I guess Palsteron here, and today I want to talk about what the hell just happened over the last few days with the patch notes reveal, and especially with the meta shakeup that is awaiting us with the Transfigure gems. So the 3.23 patch notes just dropped 2 days ago, and when I Control F'd Ruthless and I scrolled down and I saw that the only thing they have hidden behind the spoiler tag are Ruthless specific changes. I already felt really good about the patch, but then I went down and I kind of saw the sheer amount of balance changes that await us. And most things in the patch notes aren't even that important, right? A lot of quality changes, some skills got main adjustments, but overall what we're going to be looking for are these Transfigure gems that completely open up new playstyles and new builds. But what exactly happened? What are Transfigure gems? So Transfigure gems are basically there to replace all this build clutter that we have right now, which with build clutter, I'm basically talking about helm enchants, alt quality gems, and threshold jewels. All those things that are kind of used to steer your build in a different direction and give you a little bit of agency. However, all of these have been neutered over the years because they were kind of decisions that weren't really decisions. If you get +2 projectiles on Molten Strike on helmet, well, what else are you going to take? You're definitely not going to take the other two options, right? Alt quality gems, some of them were just so good they had to tone them down as well, or risk them just being the new default options. There's no real decision there. And the same is true for threshold jewels, which were mostly just band-aid fixes for certain skills where they didn't want to give that to the skill directly and you had to sacrifice like a jewel slot. And what they came up with basically is combine everything in one place and just make it into a gem itself, which splitting that from its original gem means that they can balance them separately. And that will just open up so much more design space for them in the future. To give you an example of this, we can take Cyclone. They didn't like how it felt in Legion. It had way too much AoE while still being fast, while being one of the coziest skills to play in the game. And I think what they could do with this is they could basically shift certain strengths of the gem onto different gems that you can specialize in. They moved a lot of AoE away from the base Cyclone gem, but they gave it some more movement speed. But now they can make a Transfigure gem that gives you those radius stages back, and you get everything that you get from the main gem. So basically just making it even better on top of that. And they can make another Cyclone that is more focused and doesn't get that AoE, but maybe get some extra single target damage, addressing how little damage Cyclone does, and that it's mostly just used for cast on crit procs. They can take away your cake, but you can eat it finally. I think it is a great idea. I think this is going to... I mean, it's going to be a massive change for Path of Exile moving forward. If I look at some of these ideas that they came up with, for example, the Frozen Legion. Now, this one has only a 0.3 second cooldown, whereas the original has a 0.8 second cooldown. But on the other hand, it also has like half of the damage. So what they're trying to do here is make Frozen Legion into a skill that you might or might not play as a main skill, right? They could have never done that before, because if they make it strong enough to be a main skill, it couldn't serve its purpose anymore. So what they're trying to do is make skills a lot less flexible and all-rounder and more niche, but give it more power. Or look at this Firestorm, for example. Back in the day, Firestorm had a little bit of resurgence at some point, especially with mines and stuff. You could overlap a lot of them, and they kind of nerfed it down. The normal Firestorm can only have 3 maximum Firestorms. It has like this big meteor theme and stuff like that. They can now just make a transfigured Firestorm that goes back to how it used to be. And what they did in these patch notes is basically simplify some of these skills as sort of like a building foundation that they can then slap these exciting new Transfigure gems on. And yes, some of the Transfigure gems will literally just be the versions of one of the alt qualities that we had. For example, there's definitely going to be a Transfigured Spark that has like a conversion to chaos and stuff like that. And you lost a lot of like alt quality gem supports. You lost your helmet enchant. That's all fine and dandy. But until we actually see how strong these new Transfigure gems are, and from what we've seen, they seem incredibly strong. Plus, they said they're strictly better versions. I'm basically only seeing upside here. Number 2, it will be way less annoying than it used to be. I am not sad that I never have to go to TFT again and get a helm enchant service ever again. I don't have to hope that the helmet is going to show up on trade or something. I don't have to at league start be weaker than I am later. Now, obviously, a lot of this is going to depend on, is it actually going to be easier to start out with, or is it going to be even harder? My guess would be it's going to be easier to start, because if you want to start a Firestorm of Pelting build, you only kind of need the gem. You don't need a Threshold Jewel. You don't need this. You don't need that. You don't need to worry, oh, is it a tier 3 unique or a tier 2 unique? Because that's going to decide how expensive it's going to be on League Start. Now, The gems could be weighted and they could be hard to get. From what they said, you can already get them from the first slab. So there's already going to be people chunking in gems at level 30 on League Start, rolling into weird other gems that you might need for your build. So in my mind, unless they actually waited, which wouldn't make much sense in my opinion, these will be way easier to get. Maybe you're not going to get them in the first 12 hours of the game, but you're going to get them way faster than all these other things that you would usually have to get. And the third and most exciting thing about how they seem to go about these Transfigure gems is that they're not just random, I don't know, like Arc. I deal this much damage, I get a little bit of a multiplier from Chain. I'm Ice Nova, I deal this amount of cold damage. But a lot more complex, right? Like layers of duration, impacts, AoEs within AoEs, stuff like Volcanic Fissure, where we don't even know if these are going to shotgun. You have to do the math on Frozen Legion. Now, obviously, everything can be mathed out. Don't get me wrong. But it isn't just an easy presentation of a skill, and you can kind of figure out on PoE, oh, is this going to be good or not? Which means you actually have to test stuff. You're going to fail. You're going to have situations where you're going to go into lab and you're going to see a new gem and you want to play it. And yeah, I haven't seen that many Transfigure gems. Maybe they front-loaded some of the more interesting ones, sure. But from what I can see from now is, at least for 1 or 2 leagues, these are going to be incredibly fresh. One more thing that they said during the Q&A was that they are still making skill gems as we speak, which was 2 days ago. So I'm assuming they're still going to pump those out, which means there's no shot they're going to balance these correctly. They aren't testing half of those. There's just no time. There's no shot. So what that means is we're going to get another Explodey Totem. We're going to get some more OP builds. And whoever finds them first, that's going to be exciting, right? Whenever you see that next Reddit post of something OP, that is what PoE is all about for me personally. And this also means that they don't have to make a new skill with new animations, new graphics every single time they want to implement a new playstyle. They can take an existing gem and make a transfigured version of it, which for the future means they have way more wiggle room to get new stuff in. So for example, whereas before we were like getting 3-4 skills per league, it's like, okay, if they suck, that's kind of unfortunate. They can now throw 20-30 gems in because they don't have to make art assets for them. They don't have to make animations. They don't have to do anything. They can kind of build upon the gem that is already there. Sure, there's going to be a little bit of work, but they don't have to balance it from the ground up. And that is extremely exciting for me personally. I cannot wait to talk about those gems coming out in the coming days. If you guys don't know, they're going to push out a lot of spoilers. So yeah, spoiler season is ahead, and I'm very excited for that. As for my League Starter, I'll share my thoughts soon. The League Starter that I had kind of lined up, which was Lightning Strike Poison, is completely gone. So that's unfortunate. It's still good in endgame, but not for League Start anymore. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But for now, since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.